I got news for you. Not a lot of people in the refugee camp have kept their Android installations up to date. There's a couple of things floating around that talk about Mercy Corps and Kiva, and that's good. But it's not the sexy story from a media point of view. What's sexy is, Facebook. Oh, it's scary.
Welcome to Market Power, where we look at the power of markets and economics to shape our world. I'm Craig, and I have been doing a lot of videos lately on Libra because I think this is an exciting thing coming up in our lives, and it's going to be a real powerful force at demonstrating how economics really shapes our world. If you've been paying attention to Libra, you probably mostly know that it is associated with Facebook's cryptocurrency, but you might not know that there is a whole Libra association attached to Libra, and Facebook is just one player. As you go through the list of Libra association members, you're gonna see some familiar names like Uber, Lyft, Visa, MasterCard. But then as you go down the list, you might run into some names you might not know, like Mercy Corps. Who is Mercy Corps?
Mercy Corps is one of the world's largest humanitarian aid and development agencies. We've got about 5,000 people, and we operate in 43 different countries around the world.
I got interested in Mercy Corps specifically because of a tweet I saw. Somebody kind of called Mercy Corps out and was shocked that they would partner up with Facebook. And Mercy Corps cordially responded and said that this was not them bowing to Facebook's whims, but this was a joint collaboration where they wanted to come in and show how Libra could then go out and help people in developing countries. So I reached out to Mercy Corps, asked if they'd be interested in talking to me and doing an interview for this channel, and they put me in contact with Rick Shreves. Rick has probably the coolest job description I have seen for somebody who works in a nonprofit.
I'm the Director of Emerging Technology for Mercy Corps. So what that really means in the real world is it's my job to identify new and emerging tech that may have application for our field teams, and then to spin up proofs of concept and trials of that technology, and then publicize what we've learned throughout the agency.
Rick's job just sounds so cool. So as I talked to him, he told me that he's working with 3D printing, virtual reality, drones, satellite imagery, just trying to find out how any of these emerging technologies can come in and help people in developing countries. So the first question I had for Rick was, why is Mercy Corps excited about Libra?
Well, we do a lot of what we call financial inclusion work, which is dealing with, unbanked populations around the world. In a lot of the countries where we work, people just simply don't have access to financial services, and that really disenfranchises them, and it keeps them from participating in the broader economy. So when we see a global stable coin, low volatility coin, if you prefer that label, with low transactional friction and good, or the potential at least, for good adoption levels, we immediately see something that would be useful for the populations that we work with. That ability to put into their hands a stable currency that reduces the volatility risk for them, that they can move back into their local currency with relative ease, would be super helpful in aid and development.
Since Rick has been on the ground in developing countries more than I have, I actually wanted to know what he thought the advantages or challenges of introducing cryptocurrencies in the developing world would be, because when I look at it, I think a lot of people don't really understand what cryptocurrencies are, what the benefits are, but I live in the US, and so maybe there's a whole different perspective out there.
Yeah, surprisingly enough, courtesy of the fact that it is relatively easy to engage with traditional financial services in the U.S. is actually quite far behind some of the other places in the world that it may surprise you are more advanced with things like mobile money. An obvious example would be China, where WeChat, with their integration of digital payment, has become ubiquitous, and a lot of people have simply ceased carrying cash. But also in places like Kenya, where mobile money has taken off via vehicles like M-Pesa. There's really broad-based acceptance of using your phone to transfer value back and forth. Once you hit a tipping point with digital currency systems, such as WeChat was able to achieve in China, you really see it take off, right? You really see that network effect kick in, and suddenly the on-ramps and the off-ramps, they're there and they're plentiful, and it's a no-brainer for people to conduct digital transactions.
Well, that answer made sense to me. A lot of developing countries adopted cell phones and smartphones really quickly, especially relative to how the US adopted to them, because the US only saw this marginal advantage of cell phones and smartphones because we already had widespread landline. Whereas in developing countries, they didn't have that infrastructure. And so they were able to leapfrog the landline stage and go straight towards cell phones. And since they don't have that financial infrastructure, it makes sense that they would leapfrog that part and go straight to the mobile money. Of course, that infrastructure difference also brings up one of the challenges of introducing Libra or any type of cryptocurrency into these developing countries.
You know, we work in some places that are really difficult from an infrastructure point of view. You know, electricity, internet, access to devices, all really low. And in those places, those most difficult places, you know, this isn't going to be a tool that we're able to use, at least not now until that situation changes.
As I talked to Rick, I really appreciated that Mercy Corps is approaching this as a technology that should be used where it can be used. They're not being hampered by countries that can't use it yet. They're not saying, well, we can't use it everywhere, so we're going to use it nowhere. They're saying, hey, this has the chance to provide some revolutionary technologies to some people who could really use them. Let's get it to those people. And when the other countries are ready, we'll help them. We'll be in that position to give them those technologies too. As I mentioned at the top of the video, Libra is being run by the Libra Association, and you would have a hard time knowing that just reading the press that has come out because everybody is so focused on Facebook. And I think that is to the detriment of Libra, the Libra Association, and groups like Mercy Corps.
Right now, all of the press buzz and all the excitement is simply about the fact that Facebook's name is connected with this. But what I often tell people is really, you know, Facebook just incubated this. They're not controlling it. They were the incubator, yes. But now with the association, they hold a 1% share, the same as anybody else, including Mercy Corps.
Yeah.
So obsessing on the Facebook connection, I think, does miss the point.
Libra will not launch until the first half of 2020, so we have about 6 to 12 months before we actually see it in action. During that time, the Libra Association is going to hash out the details of Libra's launch. And so I asked Rick what Mercy Corps' priority was in this 6 to 12 month period where they're figuring out the details.
You know, every time there's a new tech that rolls out, particularly something that's potentially transformative in the markets where we work, we're concerned about whether civil society actors have a seat at the table and whether those voices are being heard. And we really view that as being part of our role in the association. You know, the different parties that are in the association are bringing different agendas to the table. And the social impact organizations like Mercy Corps, Kiva, Women's World Banking, you know, I'm hoping that we can speak coherently with, you know, a consistent voice about protecting these populations that we work with. Because otherwise, you know, it is going to be driven by commercial concerns. That's just the reality of the world.
Man, what I really love about that answer is how it connects with the answer Josh Gans gave me when I interviewed him about the Creative Destruction Lab's role in Libra Association. Okay, so Creative Destruction Lab, CDL, is another one of these groups in the Libra Association, and their goal over the next 6 to 12 months is to make sure that the rules are not going to prevent future startups from entering in. So they're a group that has the future interests in mind. And that's what Mercy Corps and a couple of these other groups are bringing for the developing world. They want to make sure that this is not just an association cobbled together by people in rich countries. They're trying to be a voice for those people who wouldn't normally have a role here in this negotiation. And I just love that. I love the forethought gone into this in inviting these groups into deciding what Libra Association and what Libra are going to do. And so I asked Rick what were some of the big barriers that they wanted to make sure did not occur. What are the threats they see to Libra being adopted in developing countries? The first thing he mentioned was a regulatory barrier.
Well, we'll just take an example. I mean, you know, KYC standards vary quite widely. If, for example, the system was to default to applying the most stringent standard, it would automatically exclude a large number of people that couldn't meet those requirements.
That regulatory barrier is a pretty significant thing. KYC, Know Your Customer, is a big barrier to a lot of financial services in developing countries. I am going to do another video on this because this has come up actually a lot as I've talked to people about the applications in the developing world, and KYC seems to be this big threat to the application of cryptocurrencies in other countries. So I'm going to do more work on this. If you're interested in knowing more about it, leave a comment below, subscribe so that way you can learn more about KYC. But this seems to be a big threat on the horizon and what Libra really needs to make sure they overcome. So that's a regulatory barrier. And there are going to be other regulatory barriers. KYC was just the example Rick was giving. Another barrier is a technological barrier.
In a lot of places where we work, where literacy is a challenge and numeracy can be a challenge, the usability of wallets is huge. And a lot of the wallets that are out there today just really aren't usable by those populations. Or, maybe they're only compatible with, Android 6 and above. Well, I got news for you. Not a lot of people in the refugee camp have kept their Android installations up to date.
Since I teach undergraduates, I asked Rick what his advice was for undergraduates who might be interested in the intersection of philanthropy and cryptocurrencies, and his response was awesome.
One of the big challenges that we face in humanitarian aid and development is in the field of emerging technology. Everybody that has these skills is either working for a financial institution or a bank, or they're involved in a startup, right? And so it's really hard for us to get the skills that we need. So I would say right now that if you're interested in this space, start developing those skills, learn Solidity, learn Move, pick up, the programming chops and understand the architecture. That's where we need the help, and that's where it's really tough for us to find it.
So if you're interested in this intersection of philanthropy and cryptocurrencies, keep studying cryptocurrencies because those skills are scarce. They really need those in those nonprofit organizations. So definitely develop those skills and then go apply them at those places. If you're interested in learning more about what those skills are, I think a really good resource actually is a report that Rick wrote for Mercy Corps. I'm going to put it in the link below. He wrote it 2 years ago. It really shows that he and Mercy Corps have been at the frontier of thinking about how cryptocurrencies are going to affect developing countries. So I'll put the link to his report there, and also subscribe to this channel because I'm going to be doing more videos on Libra. I hope to do more interviews to get people telling me their perspectives on what Libra's impact is going to be on the economy and on our future. I'm just really excited about where this is going, and I hope to see you on the next episode.